Star Wars has long been known for its memorable characters, incredible story, and spellbinding visual effects, and the new live-action show Andor is no exception. Tony Gilroy and his team have previously worked on Rogue One, where Cassian Andor was first introduced, and are now doing all they can to make the series as good as possible. Let's look at what the cast and crew have to tell us, along with one of the most prominent fan theories out there, starting with the cast and crew. For them to truly capture the early days of the rebellion with just as much chaos, because of which Cassian turns from a thief into a spy for them, the cast had to get up to the mark on the franchise's lore, along with costumes and an entire town that the team made just for the show. What we've seen happen behind the scenes is just as thrilling. While we may be used to seeing Imperials as one-dimensional fascists or stuffy bureaucrats, Kyle Soller and Denise Goff take it upon themselves to prove that they're anything but what we've seen before from a Star Wars villain. While the two look the part, they're far from the terrifying Imperial officers from the franchise. In a recent interview with Screen Rant, both talked about how refreshing it was to play conflicted villains who truly believed that they were doing the right thing. Genevieve O'Reilly, who plays Mothma in Rogue One, was always intrigued by her character's sacrifices throughout the year. The poised figure had to make sacrifices to get where she is in Rogue One. Now we get to see her make her way through the bureaucracy of Senate life in Coruscant, while the Empire rules the galaxy, along with her constantly trying to drum up sympathy for her cause. It will be amazing to watch her grow, especially since the actor is so committed to her character. Next up, more from the cast. Star Wars films are known for showing off a galaxy filled with people, starting with George Lucas's creation of A New Hope in 1977. It wasn't a futuristic galaxy that looked like a modern-day Apple Store. Instead, it was full of life and people. During an interview with Empire, the show's star Diego Luna said that working in this environment was a beautiful experience, since everything is mechanical and natural, and it shows. Not just that, but Fiona Shaw, who plays his mother Marva in the show, said that his character's home is made out of old parts of spaceships, and she would just go out and stare at its beauty. Adria Aronia, who plays Andor's old associate Bix Colleen, told Collider that she would sometimes take the same morning route as her character would work during scenes she was filming. It's very fortunate that the cast can now live through the city and situate themselves in the space. Furthermore, ditching the volume and creating an entire city. Star Wars is known for its vast sets, but this time they built an entire city for the show called Ferrix, a marketplace city that was full of life with its shipyards, junkyards, taverns, and gambling halls. The city is where Andor does most of his deals before he joins the rebellion and is often compared to Mos Eisley. The massive project took months to make, as explained in the behind-the-scenes videos, and does a beautiful job of taking both the actors and fans to an actual place from the franchise. The actor for Bix even went ahead to say that she got lost in the city multiple times. Not only does it make the show much more cinematic, but it also makes it feel more tangible than The Volume. Two shows that famously used The Volume for the franchise are The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is a giant LED backdrop that allows the crew and actors to see their environments, giving them a 360-degree view of the land. It also makes filming much easier. In an interview with Empire, Tony Gilroy said they decided to ditch the technology for the show and use real sets. He believes simple sets bring a much more earthy and authentic quality to the show. Not just that, but since the show has much longer seasons than the other live-action shows, it only made sense to keep the sets up. Additionally, filming locations. Previous films from the franchise have been known for filming in locations such as Tunisia for Tatooine and Greenland to show a frozen planet such as Hoth. What's surprising about it is that the show is still following this practice, a rare thing in modern-day shows, possibly even endangering cast and crew on tight schedules. While places like Coruscant can be filmed in places such as a soundstage, according to Luna in an interview with Empire, they had to hike up a mountain for hours just for one shot in Scotland. This was a massive effort for all of them and dangerous at times. But despite the danger, the location felt like being on another planet, and since the character's life is always in peril, it set him up to get into character even better. Sometimes it isn't possible to make entire sets. At times, they've had to just scout locations and choose somewhere that looks like a sci-fi planet. When the show needed to make a market square, E&E Industries at Pinewood Studios, who have been associated with the franchise for a long time, helped them out. The Blackpool Gazette says that, at times, they would give real-life locations, such as Cleveland's seafront, some new doors and windows, and more to resemble something from the franchise. Lastly, Andor uses practical creature effects and hand-sewn costumes. Andor has taken it upon itself to go back to the trend of using hand-sewn costumes and practical effects as much as possible, which in the current age of streaming platforms where it competes with shows such as House of the Dragon is an insane commitment to make, but it still pulls it off. This makes certain parts of the show much more time-consuming and tedious, but with what we've seen on screen, the result has been worth it. The show's costumes were even on display at the San Diego Comic-Con 2022, showing off the effort that went into bringing the galaxy to life. The display showed off incredible craftsmanship that rivals all kinds of shows today, from hand-dyed and sewn robes of Mon Mothma and other Imperial senators to the creatures and droids that the FX department made. Andor's biggest mystery explained. There are a lot of questions about the show's portrayal of the franchise's galaxy, as it shows the rise of the rebellion, but the one most fans are talking about seems to be something from the latest episodes, out of pure curiosity. In the latest storyline for the show, Cassian finds himself in prison for 6 years and has to make machinery that looks like giant cogs every day just to avoid being punished by deadly shocks. But what exactly is the facility making them work on? It might be darker than anything we may have imagined. Fans have been coming up with theories for what these parts could be. Some claim they're making droids to provide more security for the Empire, while others say they're making parts for a certain superweapon we're all very familiar with. But this also means that the character is helping to create the device that takes his life. Some fans even claim that they're making parts for the AT-AT walkers. Moving on to a different idea, but the team at Breaking Canon Podcast thinks something else is at play. As they discussed episode 8, called Narkina 5, they came up with a new theory. What if they just make one floor assemble these parts, and then the floor below just works on disassembling them? What if all the work they do is just to distract them? While this is a massive waste, why waste so much free labor when prisoners are cheaper than droids? If the theory is true, then they're not trying to get anything made by them, but are instead trying to destroy them psychologically. If the Empire can break the prisoners' spirits, they can keep them docile and turn their incarceration into a self-sufficient process. Finally, a philosophical take. Of course, this theory needs a lot of philosophical takes to support it. Many fans have started calling the prison a panopticon, a term from the 18th century that describes a circular prison building with a watchtower in the middle, so prisoners would always feel like they were being watched. One thing that emphasizes this is that the characters group is under the control of a fellow inmate called Kino Loy. All groups are isolated from one another and never know if they're being watched by anyone, and are constantly tortured by the conditions they're placed in. All of these are trademarks of a panopticon. At least if the theory is correct, the facility is far from a manufacturing plant, but is instead used to break the souls and spirits of its captives. But we see Cassian lead the inmates out of this hellhole with an ever-burning hatred for the Empire. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on Andor? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.